Thank you, Whittaker. I think most people recognize that as Blue Boat Home. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Columbus, an inclusive spiritual community of people who support each other in their search for truth and meaning. I'm Rick Spradlin, your volunteer service leader this morning. And now to begin our service, let us light our chalice. The chalice speaks to us of reason, tolerance, and freedom, and also of compassion, justice, and love. May its flame ever warm and illuminate our lives. And now for our 7 principles, which UU congregations affirm and promote. If you read with me, our first principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Number 2, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. Number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Number 6, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. And number 7, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. This morning's offering will now be given and received in the spirit of grateful fellowship. Jackie Waldman will share a reading with us this morning.
Thank you. So this reading is something I got out of the Jewish prayer book. And before you think, oh my God, it's all Jewish, it's not. It pertains to all of us. And so it starts out, know before whom you stand, but in truth we do not know. Perhaps we stand before our history, a chronicle of stubbornness, quiet heroism, and the will to live. Perhaps it's the memory of those who struggled to be human in a world that was dark and cold. Perhaps it is Torah that summons us to rise, the golden chain of tradition, of reverence for learning, permission to question and doubt. Perhaps we stand before ideals that call us to do justice, love kindness, to walk humbly on this earth. Perhaps it's awe at the kinship of all that live, or the unknowable, unnameable mystery that brought us here. We stand together, seekers, doubters, and those who are firm in their faith. And this we know, the day is short, the work immense, the laborers are reluctant, the reward is great, and the need is urgent.
When you grow up in a country where religion is expressed in a set of stories that seem incredible to believe, it can be difficult to accept a religion that lacks such stories as a true religion. Unitarian Universalism doesn't have its own set of myths like many of the other world religions do. Well, now, it is true that since both the Unitarians and the Universalists began as Christian denominations, that they do share the stories from Judaism and Christianity. However, when those two denominations merged in 1961, they soon opened their doors to other beliefs, other religions, which means that in a UU church, you're just as likely to hear a story from Hinduism as you are from the Bible. Without a common core mythology, it can be hard for people to answer the often asked question, what do Unitarian Universalists believe? Now, one reason that many people find it's hard to answer this question is because, honestly, it's a loaded question. Usually when someone asks, what do you believe? What they mean is, what do you believe about God? What do you believe about life after death? What do you believe about, well, where did all of this come from? Unitarian Universalists have never really been interested in giving answers to questions that nobody could really possibly know the answer to anyway. Ever since the merger in 1961, Unitarian Universalists have been trying to build a religion that helps to establish unity and concord among people of different backgrounds, different faith traditions, to undo some of the dissension and strife that has plagued the history of religion from the beginning. Religion should give people hope and meaning, promote feelings of belonging, increase our capacity for cooperation. It's for this purpose that Unitarian Universalism build their religion on common values and principles rather than common metaphysical beliefs. One of the first things that sets UU apart from its parent religion is its first principle: the inherent worth and dignity of every person. UUs make the very bold claim that humanity is basically good. The second principle justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, points us towards the larger community. It reminds us that treating people as human beings is not simply we do one-on-one, but something that should inform our entire cultural way of being. Our third principle, the acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. In a UU fellowship, spiritual growth isn't about vertical ascent into heaven, but it's about the outward growth in all directions. It's about opening your heart to the stranger, bringing in people that you normally might not consider neighbors. This echoes what Jesus was teaching when he was asked, "Who is your neighbor?" And his response was basically everyone, because in that parable, he chose someone that the Jews consider to be an enemy of their people. But he said, when he shows you kindness, and when you show kindness, you become neighbors. Our fourth principle, the free and responsible search for truth and meaning, is a statement of humility. We accept that truth in its entirety may not ever be known or understood. We must be willing to change our stand on issues if our position stands counter to a growing body of empirical evidence. Our fifth principle, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and a society at large, makes democracy a part of our religion, as opposed to being something that our religious tradition has learned to accept. As part of our religious lives, the democratic process requires us to trust that each individual conscience can develop. We're forced to accept, just as the founders of our country were, that you're not going to always get what you want. Sometimes we may have to compromise. Unitarians should understand better than most that compromise is at the heart of community. Our sixth principle, the goal of the world community with peace, liberty, and justice of all, is a statement of our faith in the shared destiny of all humankind. More than anything else, that is probably our greatest statement of faith. It runs counter to what you hear in so many other faiths, that humanity is on a downward decline, that humanity is no good. We say that humanity is basically good, and someday a community of liberty and justice for all is possible. Our seventh principle, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are a part, is a way of embracing something greater than ourselves. The interdependent web can be expressed as the spirit of life. The interdependent web can be seen as the ground of all being, the oneness of all existence. The interdependent web is the community-forming power, the process of life, and the creative force that can help us develop a social understanding of ourselves. So the truth is that it isn't always easy to answer the question, what do Unitarian Universalists believe? It's not that it's hard to answer because we don't believe anything. Sometimes it's hard to answer because we believe in so much. Thank you for listening.